So we're sitting in the van, living in the van again. Haven't really done any videos on the van or the build out. So because of a very specific event, I thought I'd give a quick tour of the facilities. I mean, currently I'm sitting in my office. Over here we have the bedroom, closet to the left, my library, in my office, and then we get ourselves over to the kitchen, kind of like the center of the attention right here. We'll get to that in a moment. And then turning ourselves back towards the cab with my passenger seat closet. But yeah, specifically, right in the center of the whole operation within the system, we have this guy. Just my refrigerator. So I'm currently waiting for some coffee to brew here. But yes, the refrigerator. The refrigerator's position in the center of the build did not happen by chance. In fact, I would say that most of this build centered around the operation of this device. And current developments not included, this has been a absolutely wonderful device. I mean, I can't describe how glorious it is to be able to store cold food reliably, never have to get ice. I have spent 2 summers in high deserts in this thing. It bakes during the day, and this thing chugs. The solar, look, I could have easily gotten away without the solar. I did not get the solar to charge my electronics, even though it does do that. I got the solar to drive this sucker. And in 2018, I had an issue where the panels died. It had to do with using semi-rigid panels and the thermal expansion and contraction just killed them. And well, there was like 4 months where I didn't have any solar. So I realized that now I have an isolator between the 2 batteries. There's a battery running the cabin, a battery running the engine, and there's an isolator between them. So when I'm running the engine, it charges the cabin battery if it needs it. I figured out pretty quickly that, well, at the time anyway, if I ran the engine for about 20 or 30 minutes a day, that was enough to run the fridge for an entire day, including overnight. Now, overnight, yeah, I get down to, I don't know, 11.8 volts, 11.6, under 12, which is the point. And really, it's not like good for these things to run on under 12 volts, but it did, and it kept all my food cold. I could keep vegetables, the milk or the cream for the coffee, and yeah, my drinks, like I could get beer, and like the beer was cold. I mean, that's a wonderful thing to have after like a long day of climbing. Last year, probably became apparent, I would say around, I don't know, June, July last summer, that my cabin battery is probably getting to the end of its life. And at about that time, which would have been like 1.5 years, considering what I got, yeah, that's about right. You know, so like, you know, the solar, which I had fixed by this point, it could charge that sucker up, but, you know, like, could it hold that overnight? Well, you know, August, September, I'm getting down to 11.5, 11.6 volts. But this thing kept running. This thing kept chugging. And I pushed it. So I would say roughly October last year, this thing would kick on at night, the compressor would kick on at night, and I started hearing gurgling, which Never made that sound before. And I looked it up. Apparently that's common with refrigerators. I don't know. But it was still getting cold. It was still getting cold. However, given the time, you know, this October, November, it was just colder outside. So the refrigerator doesn't have to work as hard overnight because just the ambient temperature is that cold. It also means my battery is not holding a charge as well when it's that cold. So I just figured, well, if I can make it to in the winter, you know, I'll change the battery out, everything will be fine. So yeah, a week ago, the astute of you may have noticed that the refrigerator is not on. That's because I don't have it turned on. I did have it turned on, but it wasn't working. I turned it on and it just did not get cold. And yeah, I mean, this device is central to the entire operation here. You know, this is all about making, like, this as comfortable as I can given the conditions that I'm living, and this was just crucial. And yeah, I think it's done. 2.5, well, really 2 years. I can't describe just how I'm so bummed I am about it. I'm not angry. I abuse this thing, and it took every punch. You know, it rolled with them all. Yeah, I'm just bummed out about it. But I can't help but laugh. Because, like, hey, one downside of this thing is this is a two-way, so it's designed to run at 12 volt and 120 volt. And I do have a plug-in built into this thing to run the refrigerator, which I've used a couple times, but yeah. But I guess, like, running it on 12 volt for as long as I have at, like, lower voltages, that was a bit too much for that compressor, or the refrigerant system. I don't know if you guys know how that works, but it's not something that the layman can really fix. I guess if I had all the components, I could probably build a new one, because that's kind of what it would take, but you have to be licensed, and just because I have an idea how it works doesn't mean, or understand the basics doesn't mean I can totally do it. I don't have, like, the tools, and it's a whole process. But yeah, I'm bummed out. It's like, oh man, oh god, I want to say that was like $400 something for that fridge, and here I am, like, recommending it to my friends, like, oh yeah, totally worth the money. I was worth the money after 2 years. I don't, maybe, but I would feel a whole lot better if I had the money to replace it. Which maybe I will. Well, I don't know, it's so critical to the whole operation. At least now, knowing some other things about electronics in this unit, I could probably do it better. But I'll tell you what, in the end, and probably the reason I still have a smile on my face, is I'm in the van again. And see this? This, rest area, who cares? It's outside of Pennsylvania. I finally escaped the damn state. Now, like, I'm not heading west yet. It's too early to do so. It's like, pandemic situation is still in full effect, and I have some friends, and they're gonna let me stay at their place down in the New, It's where I was last year, and I'm planning on being down there for 3 months, and then assess where to go, what to do, come September. I don't know where we're going to be with this virus, but you know what? I cannot describe how happy I was to cross into the Ohio border. I'm heading out to Detroit right now, just for a week, a few days. I have a friend out there. I'm gonna help him do some work on his house. Maybe get a couple bucks. That'll be nice. But yeah, just crossing the border. I can't describe how happy I was just to be. It really made me realize just how much my heart is not out in Pennsylvania anymore. But yeah, so westward bound. So I remember mentioning, 3 months ago? 3 months ago, remarking just like, what an interesting time to be alive. And boy, did I have no idea. Given the times in America right now, I mean, wow, did I have no idea. And specifically I'm referring to, not only the coronavirus, but the development of, or the current Black Lives Matter movement. And to be clear, I want to say I absolutely stand in solidarity with these people, or with those issues, and at large. They are issues that need to be addressed, and that's one of the reasons why it's blown up like it has. It's interesting. It might sound bad, but maybe it just took a global pandemic and this administration to finally get some traction behind this. And if that's what it took, hey, maybe it was worth it. And that's still going on. Now, I haven't really talked about that, or talked about this in general, and in large part that's because what was going on social media. I wanted the protesters, or the people that are very active in trying to bring about this change, to have the attention. I didn't want to take that away from it. This is a climbing channel. That's what I do. But if you're listening to this, in my own viewpoint, I kind of see two components at large here, and there's a racial component, racial injustice, and there is this a justice reform issue, a culture in policing, or the way policing is done. You could throw the militarization of police in that. Now, look, it is not. I'm not blind to the fact that I'm, a white person, and of a upper middle class family that grew up in rural, semi-rural area, America. I don't experience what a lot of people experience, especially the urban black population. And it's all I can do is try to educate myself on. And when this was all developing, there were these two podcast episodes that came to mind, and I think they kind of touch on both these components I already talked about. One is, it was This American Life, and the episode was called The Problem We All Live With. And I believe it's two parts. I wrote it down. What was episodes 562 and 563. And specifically what it talks about is segregation that occurs in the school system, like high school. And the other episode was an episode by the podcast More Perfect. It was a spin-off of Radiolab, and I'm sorry, I'm trying to recall the name of it. Mr. Graham and the Reasonable Man, and this is dealing with I guess it surrounds the justification of use of force, and both episodes I think touch on points that are currently in debate right now. And honestly, like I want to see this movement keep going. I want to see it. I want to see it come to a good conclusion. I feel like recently, in the past, I don't know, week, it's sort of started to lose some steam. Which, yeah, I mean, it's hard to keep something like that going and going. I mean, we'll see what happens. I certainly hope it doesn't. Until we see appropriate reform, but appropriate reform is going to take a while. So anyway, I wanted to throw that out there. That said, now that is said, I'm leaving PA, and in a week I'll be climbing again. Oh my lord. I haven't been, like, other than maybe like a half dozen times for just like, I was out bouldering or just like playing on like little 30-foot things that I find, and just, whatever I could get. I mean, gyms are closed, like I can't even do that. Like, I feel like I'm out of shape. I lost a ton of weight, and but it doesn't matter. None of that matters anymore because I'm going to be climbing again another week. I'm so itching, excited. It's good, so good, so good. So that also means more content is coming, finally, next week. So I figured I'd let you guys know. Take care. I'm going to continue my travels here. Actually, I'm going to probably swing some kettlebells while I got a chance, and yeah, maybe do like 100 push-ups or something. I don't know. We'll find out. I'm feeling so much better right now. It's yeah, needed so much. Take care, guys.